over the long weekend.
And Senator Win Gatchalian says he found out that the Bureau of Immigration had known for 2 weeks now that the Guos and Ong have fled the country. He says he will be questioning their intelligence fund's budget when it comes up.
Shiela Guo and Cassandra Ong, the two very high-profile individuals repatriated yesterday, will remain detained at an NBI facility throughout the long weekend. That is while authorities prepare the full charges against them.
Now, Guo and Ong's lawyers, however, have begun to question the grounds of their detention, saying there's no legal basis for the women to be detained for days at the NBI.
Shiela Guo was also found with a Chinese passport under the name Zhang Mier when she was apprehended in Indonesia. Elaine Fulgencio has the big story.
It's been a day since Shiela Guo, the sister of former Bamban-Tarlac Mayor Alice Guo and Coco Incorporator Cassandra Ong were brought back to the Philippines from Indonesia. They remain in the custody of the National Bureau of Investigation or NBI. Prior to this, Guo was subjected to an inquest by the Immigration Bureau last night for violations of the immigration law and the Philippine Passport Act. Shiela Guo was found with a Chinese passport under the name Zhang Mier when she was apprehended in Indonesia. A fingerprint analysis conducted by the NBI confirmed that Guo and Zhang are the same person.
Comparative fingerprint analysis shows that the Chinese Zhang Mier and Shiela Guo are one and the same person. So, iisa yun. So, we can conclude na si Shiela Guo na nasa amin ngayon ay isang Chinese.
Guo is now accused of misrepresenting herself as a Filipino citizen while being a Chinese national. On the other hand, Ong, who holds a Philippine passport, was not charged by immigration authorities. However, she still faces charges of obstruction of justice and violation of immigration laws for illegally exiting the country.
Well, I think it's quite clear naman from the situation kung bakit obstruction of justice ang kakasuhan natin sa kanya.
But according to Guo's lawyer, Attorney Stephen David, there is only an arrest order from the Senate against Guo.
Wala namang kaso si Shiela eh. She was not even charged before any court. She was just being sought in the Senate. What is that? Pagka umapir siya sa Senate, ano ba yun? Tapos na yun. Hindi ka na pa fugitive pagka contempt ka ng Senate. Malayo yun, malayo yung harboring.
Ong's lawyer, Attorney Ferdinand Topacio, also questioned the women's detention at the NBI, especially since Ong is not facing any charges yet.
Yung sinasabi nilang obstruction of justice, do they have personal knowledge of the elements of the crime? Harboring a fugitive, do they have personal knowledge of the findings, of the facts involved in the crime? Wala eh. Ang merong warrant, we will concede, is the House. Therefore, upon repatriation of Miss Cassandra Ong, they should have gone to the BI and surrender the person of Miss Cassandra Ong to the Sergeant-at-Arms of the House of Representatives.
Topacio also hinted about using this legal remedy against the DOJ.
Why is she here? Yun ang kini-question namin. Anyone who causes the arrest of any person without legal grounds is liable for arbitrary detention.
The charges to be filed against Guo and Ong are bailable, but it's also possible that the two could face more serious charges. Reporters tried to get a statement from Guo and Ong, but they just run away from the media. For now, Guo and Ong will remain at the NBI detention facility. The two still need to be charged, but the NBI was affected by the holiday. The agency clarified that their detention is not considered a violation of the reglementary period.
Remember, holiday tayo. Hindi umaandar yung reglementary period na 36, 12, 18, 36. Hindi umaandar yun dahil walang office available. So, maaandar lang yun magmula nung pagka-aresto namin kagabi hanggang mag-uumpisa uli, Martes na.
The DOJ also defended their decision to bring Guo and Ong to immigration and the NBI instead of the Senate and House, which were the ones who issued arrest orders for them to begin with.
Meron din kaming reason to take custody and to charge them with several crimes. So, it was a very unique situation, kaya maganda na nag-usap-usap kami kahapon. And we all came into agreement na we will just go through the proper process, which is for the law enforcement agencies to do their job first. Booking, inquest, take custody.
According to the Senate, the NBI has promised to turn over the individuals to them after the inquest proceedings. This is to allow them to appear at the hearing on Tuesday regarding pogos.
Sino yung mga tumulong sa kanilang pondohan itong Pogo Hub sa Banban at sa Porac? Ano yung operation nito? Gaano kalawak? Alam natin, transnational crime to. May mga money launderers sa Singapore, sa ibang bansa. Sino-sino yung mga yon? Pangalawa, kung merong mga government officials na tumutulong sa kanila o nakasabwat dito, sabihin na rin nila.
If they do not speak, they will remain detained in the Senate. Lawmakers say they may also be transferred to Pasay City Jail if they do not cooperate with the hearing. As of press time, booking procedures and inquest proceedings for Guo and Ong at the NBI have been completed. Reporting for News 5, Elaine Fulgencio, We Are One News.
Now, who is Cassandra Ong and just how deep are the ties that bind her to the Guos? Well, aside from being with Shiela Guo when they were apprehended at an Indonesian mall, Ong is said to be the woman in the now viral photograph with dismissed Bamban Mayor Alice Guo, who was spotted at the Kuala Lumpur International Airport on July 21st. According to the Presidential Anti-Organized Crime Commission, Ong is also the girlfriend of Alice and Sheila's brother, Wesley Guo.
Boyfriend niya yung kapatid ni Alice, si Wesley.
Now, to leave the Philippines in July, Ong used her Philippine passport, which identified her as Catherine Cassandra Ong, born on May 23, 2000 in San Juan. The passport likewise listed her as a naturalized Filipino-born to a Chinese mother and a Filipino father. Her name first surfaced when authorities raided the Pogo Hub in Porac, Pampanga, being rented out to Lucky South 99. Ong is the representative of that company on paper. She is the one that former presidential spokesperson Harry Roque accompanied to PAGCOR in 2023 to iron out some financial issues. Now, that same month, a mansion on a sprawling 3-hectare lot in Pampanga, supposedly belonging to Ong, was discovered. PAOK insists Ong lived there as evidenced by her portrait in one of the mansion's rooms.
Kwarto niya yun, tapos doon talaga sila nagmi-meeting yung mga bosses ng Porac, tsaka kung may bisita sila doon din.
What happened to your intelligence funds? That is the question Senator Sherwin Gatchalian says he will ask law enforcement agencies when it's their turn to defend their proposed budgets for next year.
Sending us strong confidence dahil marami ring mga taong may warrant of arrest na hindi na rin mahanap, no? Si Pastor Kibuloy, si Arnie Teves, at marami pa na hindi naman high profile. So yung punto ko dito, kahit na may warrant of arrest i-issue sa'yo, pwede palang makawala at makatakas ng hindi alam ng gobyerno. May bantag pa pala, may isa pa, baka wala na rin siya dito, no? So it doesn't send a strong confidence about our enforcement agencies. And that's one aspect rin tatanong ko during budget season. Ano nangyari sa intelligence fund natin? Diba? Every year, yan ang may intelligence fund hinihingi mga enforcement agencies natin. At bilyones na yung mga intelligence fund nila. Hindi ino-audit to because nga of the nature of intelligence fund. Pero hindi rin makita.
Gatchalian specifically cited the Bureau of Immigration, NBI, and PNP. He said he will also question the confidential funds request of the Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines, or CAAP, and Manila International Airport Authority, or MIA. Like Interior Secretary Benher Abalos, Gatchalian believes people were bribed to help the Guos and Ong leave the country undetected. He says he will have Immigration Commissioner Norman Tansinko explain in detail at Tuesday's hearing not only how the fugitives managed to escape, but also why they held on to this information for 2 weeks without telling anyone.
Nakakapagtaka na 1 month na hindi mo alam nakaalis na pala yung tao. At kung hindi pa damunyag ni Senator Risa sa plenary, hindi pa malalaman ng buong bansa. May nagsabi rin sa akin na alam na ito ng BI almost 2 weeks before itong August 18 na revelation, no? So kaya magtataka ka bakit inantay pa ng 2 weeks, no? At I don't think it will take 2 weeks to validate. Even ang president, hindi niya alam na umalis na pala si Alice Guo. Nalaman niya rin sa media. No, nalaman niya rin nung lumabas na ito sa media dahil nagalit siya, no? If you see his reaction, talagang disappointed siya. So even the president was kept in the dark. Kahit hindi nila sigurado, pero matibay yung information, dapat humingi na sila ng executive session. Instead na tinago, based on my tinago, at huli na sinabi. At naging defensive na sila na hindi, binavalidate pa namin. Pero alam na namin dati. Parang na afterthought na lang.
For his part, Commissioner Tansinko says they acted as soon as they heard about the escape.
Essentially, we coordinated when we heard of the information. We immediately coordinated with our counterparts, not only in Indonesia but Malaysia and Singapore. Sumulat po ang immigration, sumulat ako sa kanila in addition sa informal lines natin, formal request that if encountered, take custody and turn over to Philippine immigration.
Here to help us piece together the timeline on this case, we have with us tonight Bureau of Immigration spokesperson Dana Sandoval. Dana, good evening. Thanks for taking time out of your evening to join us.
Hi, good evening to everyone, and also thank you for having me.
First off, can I have you react to what Senator Gatchalian said? He says, and I recap, the BI, the Bureau of Immigration, had known for 2 weeks now that Alice Guo and her companions may have already left the country. He says the BI withheld that information when, in fact, you should have asked for an executive session to alert the other agencies that the people you're looking for had already left. Can I have your reaction, please?
Yes, actually, nalaman po, this was known by Commissioner Tansinko just last week. To be exact, it was Thursday last week, when he found out through our intelligence, through intelligence information that he received. He was in Vietnam during that time, attending an ASEAN meeting of immigration heads. And right then and there, he confirmed with other counterparts if Alice Guo was indeed in their respective countries. Actually, the investigation stemmed from the BI receiving information that Alice Guo is flying in from Singapore to Manila. There was apparently a ticket, Cebu Pacific ticket. I think it was dated August 15 or August 14, that says that she is flying in from Singapore to Manila. Our people checked if she was able to board, and she was not able. It was found out that she was not able to board, and that got the management thinking: why does she have a flight to the Philippines if she is inside the Philippines? That's why Commissioner immediately coordinated with our counterparts right there in Vietnam and was able to gather some information from Malaysian counterparts and Singaporean counterparts. But the thing is, the information that we were able to gather were conflicting. We received information from Malaysia that she is in Malaysia, but we also received information from Singapore that she is in Singapore. So both countries are claiming that Alice Guo and her siblings both. That's why the commissioner is best to confirm first and verify this with other persons to be able to be together. On Friday, when the commissioner verified his counterpart, and on Monday, the information was released to the media.
Sorry, Dana, you were very choppy back there. I got the first part of it, so let me see if I got it right. You said the Bureau of Immigration found out on August 15, Thursday, about the Guos and Ong escaping, Commissioner Tansinko was in Vietnam at that time for a meeting with ASEAN regional counterparts, and he immediately alerted his counterparts there. He started checking the information. But Senator Riza broke the news on August 19, on Monday. So you only knew about 4 days ahead of time. Is that correct? Not 2 weeks, as what Senator Gatchalian is saying.
That's right. Commissioner Ong was able to get information that Alice Guo is in Singapore only on August 15th. The thing is, the information that the commissioner got is conflicting. There's reports that she is in Malaysia. There are also reports that she is in Singapore. That is where the difficulty lies. Why our leadership opted to get more information from other reliable sources to be able to piece together what's really happening.
But clearly, Senator Ontiveros beat you to it by announcing it on Monday. At what point did the Bureau of Immigration begin contacting law enforcement agencies to say that this has happened? Or was it after the fact, after Senator Riza broke it?
On Monday, there were conflicting. We have not yet received confirmation from our Malaysian counterparts as to whether how Alice and her group entered and how have indeed transferred to Singapore. But since the story has already been announced, then it was best already release information, no matter how still bits and pieces of information where the Bureau still has.
Okay. Dana, we did hear a statement from Commissioner Tansinko saying that they didn't release the information immediately kasi ayaw daw nilang makuryente, ayaw makuryente ng Bureau of Immigration. But from then until now, what's the latest on Alice Guo? Do you already know how she managed to get out of the country? And were you also expecting to catch Alice Guo in Indonesia? Or did she manage to slip ahead of time?
Yes, we have backtracked her travels and were able to find that she went from the Philippines to Malaysia and then to Singapore and traveled to Indonesia last August 18 because her 30 days with the Filipinos only have 30 days stay in Singapore. That's why she had to transfer to another country so she won't be overstaying in Singapore. When she transferred to Indonesia, Commissioner Tansinko immediately informed our Indonesian counterparts of the cases that Alice Guo and her siblings have in the Philippines. And the Indonesian immigration agreed that she is indeed an illegal alien in their country because of the cases that she is facing here. That's why they considered her an illegal alien and deported and arrested Shiela Guo and Cassandra Ong when they were encountered at the ports again. Apparently, they were already trying to go out of Indonesia again to an undisclosed location. They were trying to cross the border. Intercept them and arrest them. And later they were deported to the Philippines, where they were accompanied by Philippine immigration agents to make sure that they go straight back in the country.
All right. Dana, pero malinaw ba kung paano nga sila nakalabas ng Pilipinas? I think that part is not yet clear until now, ano? And NBI Director Jaime Santiago said it's beyond their control if an individual is determined to leave the country through a backdoor exit. But what does this say about our border security, ano? Okay, first question, what do we know about how they left the Philippines? And second, what does this say about our border security?
Yes, I think it's a known fact that there are ways or illegal areas that these individuals can abuse because of our borders there. We have such porous borders. Our shorelines are very long, and we're an archipelago. So we have lots of areas where people can take boats, perhaps, to a different country, and that really is the difficulty of having an archipelago. We have so many borders, we have so many shorelines that we have to look after, and immigration really is stationed and is posted in formal ports like airports and seaports, but other areas are manned by other government agencies. And I think it's really one of the things that the national government, I guess, has to strengthen, maybe the coordination between these government agencies, particularly in such cases like the abuse of our borders for illegal transportation or illegal travel.
Right.
Dana, just ang sabi ng PAOCC or PAOK, Alice Guo likely is still in Indonesia. Are you getting the same reports?
Yes, we are in close coordination with the immigration of their country of Indonesia. And the last information that they have is Alice Guo entered Indonesia but has not yet attempted to depart their country. What we think is that Shiela Guo and Cassandra Ong was testing the waters, perhaps, and seeing what would it be like if Alice herself will travel back to the Philippines or try to cross or transfer to another country. And I guess they got a preview of what is probably going to happen to her. And I think the best thing for her to do now is really to surrender to authorities so she can face the cases that were filed against her in the Philippines.
Okay. We're going to have to leave that there. Thanks so much for your time tonight. Immigration Bureau spokesperson Dana Sandoval.
And as we reported earlier, Cassandra Ong's legal team is not at all pleased that the NBI has taken custody of their client. Aside from that, Ong's lawyers are also questioning why she was arrested in Indonesia. The hard and fast rule, of course, is arrests made in a foreign country are bound by rules of the said territory. Now, a press release from Indonesia
There's a bit of traffic.
Yes.
There's a bit of party line. There's a very big legal question hanging over the cases of these two very high-profile individuals. The first is whether or not they were handled in accordance with the law. So currently, the only warrants that cover their detention right now were issued by the Senate and the House. So the first question there is, why are they being detained at the NBI?
Before I even answer your question, I just want to correct any of some of the premises that you've made there, which obviously came from hearing just one side of the story, because there's been a lot of misinformation or misimpressions that have been communicated by the other side, by the counsels of Ms. Shiela Guo and Ms. Cassandra Ong. First of all, there is basis for the executive department to take custody over both Ms. Guo and Ms. Ong. Let's talk about them separately to keep it clearer, to keep things clearer. Let's talk about Ms. Shiela Guo first. When Ms. Shiela Guo arrived in the Philippines, it was the immigration that took custody over her. And the immigration was able to take custody by virtue of a mission order. A mission order is, there's actually a document in the case of a mission order, and this is, I guess you can say, this is the version of the Bureau of Immigration of a warrant of arrest. By virtue of the mission order, the Bureau of Immigration can arrest and take custody over foreign nationals for violation of immigration law and initiate deportation proceedings. Now let's proceed to Cassandra Ong. In the case of Cassandra Ong, it seems to us that the evidence is that she is a Filipino. She's not a foreign national. Therefore, we could not subject her to the same process to which Ms. Shiela Guo was subjected to. That is why, shortly after her arrival in the Bureau of Immigration, it was the NBI who conducted a warrantless arrest over Cassandra Ong. Incidentally, NBI also conducted a warrantless arrest on Shiela Guo. And the purpose of the warrantless arrest is for NBI to be able to take custody over the two of them for them to face their criminal charges.
Thank you for that explanation. Let me also just correct you there. It's not that we're only listening to one side of it. It's not that we're only listening to the lawyers of the women. In fact, we also cover a lot of what the government agencies say. It's just that, of course, you understand this is a very complicated case, so we're trying to be as clear about it as possible. My follow-up question to you is, you said the Shiela Guo is being charged for violation of immigration law. What specific immigration law did she violate?
Commonwealth Act 613 is immigration law it governs immigration laws in the Philippines. There's a provision there that when a foreigner presents herself to be a Filipino, that is one form of violation of the immigration law. Aside from that, Shiela Guo was able to exit from the Philippines illegally. She exited from the Philippines not through official ports, official airports, or seaports. That is yet another violation of immigration laws.
I see. So 613 is essentially misrepresentation.
No, it's the Philippine immigration law. It governs every aspect of immigration law in the Philippines, and that has some administrative violations, as well as criminal violations.
So it also has criminal implications. I wonder if you could also help us help clear things up with the passport issue. So she is found to have been holding a Chinese passport under the name Zhang Mi-er. What is the violation there exactly?
Well, clearly, she misrepresented herself to be a Filipino. It appears that she misrepresented herself to be a Filipino because despite holding a Filipino passport, which presupposes Filipino citizenship, she still possesses a Chinese passport, which also presupposes Chinese citizenship.
Yusek, Philippine laws allow dual citizenship, though.
Yeah, but not in this case. Do we have dual citizenship for Chinese? It's up to her to prove. It's up to her to prove that there's such a thing as dual nationality between Chinese and Filipinos.
There isn't, actually. I know this for a fact, that China does not allow dual citizenship, but that would be a problem on that side of it. It doesn't concern us, right? So my question there is, if she had obtained a Philippine passport legitimately and was using that here, what possible grounds could she be charged under?
There's another ground for that because she's not Filipino. It appears that she's not Filipino. She can only claim Filipino citizenship if either of her parents are Filipino. And there's a problem with establishing the nationality of either of her parents as Filipinos.
You're 100% confident that she's not a naturalized citizen, that she had obtained that passport illegally?
There is no. Let's just put it this way. During the inquest proceedings, NBI presented a lot of evidence to be able to charge Shiela Guo and Cassandra Ong for the variety of criminal charges that they're subjected to. One of the charges there for Shiela Guo was violation of Passport Act, and one of the things that they presented there is a certificate that shows the absence of any naturalization on the part of Ms. Shiela Guo's prior alias or under her Chinese name.
Got it. So there weren't papers for proving that she was naturalized. Got it. Thank you.
All right, Yusek, still staying on the topic of passports, well, the DOJ recently said that it would likely set aside the palace's request to cancel the Philippine passports of dismissed Bamban Mayor Alice Guo together with her companions, because doing so may hinder the process of bringing her back to the Philippines. No? So can you elaborate more on this decision of the DOJ?
Let me clarify that the term set aside. We're not setting it aside. It's just temporarily. Maybe it's just something that we're going to do temporarily for us to be able to facilitate the possible return of Shiela Guo or Wesley Guo if they are indeed apprehended abroad. Because let me just go through what happened shortly after Executive Secretary issued this directive to the DFA and the DOJ to make arrangements for the cancellation of the Guo siblings. The DOJ, DFA, and the NBI met the day after, and we agreed on the process that we would take for the cancellation of the passports. The process was for NBI to write a letter to the DFA and lay down the basis there for the cancellation of the passports of the Guo siblings. And then DFA would undertake the process of administrative cancellation of the passports, meaning there's no court order. It would be the DFA that would have the prerogative to cancel that passport on the ground of misrepresentation or fraudulent securing of the passports. But at the same time, we received information that Shiela Guo and Cassie Ong were apprehended in Indonesia. And that's when we realized that we were in a little bit of a quandary, because if we proceeded with the immediate cancellation of the passports, there would be a slight hitch in our desire to immediately bring Shiela Guo home. Okay? And at the same time, there was that question that if we cancel their passports, and in case of Filipinos who don't have passports abroad, what usually happens is that the embassy or the consulate would issue a travel document. Would the embassy or consulate issue of a travel document be inconsistent with our basis for canceling the passport? That is why we decided to, at least temporarily, hold in abeyance the process of canceling passports for us to facilitate the quick return of Shiela Guo.
You said, so what's the timeline now? You say, okay, you're setting this aside, the cancellation of the passports. There will be holidays in our country up until Monday. What are we looking at?
We are in close communication, us in the DOJ, the Bureau of Immigration, and NBI, as well as DFA for the passport issue. One thing we just want to know if there's an imminent possibility of being able to bring home Alice Guo or Wesley Guo. If that is the case, we would have to decide if we would indeed proceed with the cancellation of the passport. So perhaps we're giving it a couple of days for us to be able to decide if and when, not if, when we should proceed with the cancellation of the passports. In other words, it's just a matter of timing.
Yusek, in the case of Cassandra Ong, I understand the DOJ wants to charge her with obstruction of justice as well. How can you prove this? What did she obstruct?
Well, the case already went through inquest earlier, and you're correct. Obstruction of justice was one of the crimes for which Cassie Ong was charged. In particular, it's Section 1C of our law on obstruction of justice, which allow me to just read: harboring or concealing or facilitating the escape of any person who he or she knows has reasonable ground to believe or suspect has committed any offense under the existing penal laws in order to prevent arrest or prosecution.
See, Attorney Topacio has already responded to this, saying, essentially, it's a long response, but essentially he's saying that it cannot be harbored. I'm sorry, Attorney Topacio is representing Ong. Essentially, he's saying that the DOJ's arguments are weak. For instance, it can't be. It's hard to prove, essentially, that she personally knew of the legal and criminal activities that you're referring to. I mean, it comes back to the point as well, for instance, with Alice Guo, even her citizenship itself, that case has not been decided, right? So parang how can you accuse her of being of misrepresentation, for instance, if hindi pa nga na-decide that she is indeed a Chinese national? So what's the way forward for you?
Well, first of all, that's understandable for him to say that because he's defense counsel. He would obviously advocate for his client's interests. At the same time, for us on the side of the state, it's understandable for us to advocate for what we are advocating for. which is the proper prosecution of people that we deem should be prosecuted for violating our penal laws. And those issues have been threshed out in the inquest proceedings earlier. So now we just leave it to the inquest prosecutors to make the final determination if Shiela Guo and Cassie Ong should be charged in court for the various crimes that NBI complained of against them.
Are you confident about your case?
I think it's good. I think it's good, but I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. We put it in the hands of the inquest prosecutors.
Okay. Let the legal system take care of it. Thank you so much for talking to us tonight. I hope you have a pleasant enough rest of the weekend. That's DOJ's Undersecretary Nicholas T.
Well, up next, amid the long weekend break, air conditioning at NAIA Terminal 3 suffers another breakdown. The details when we return. Known case of the deadlier Mpox variant Clade 1B. Thailand's Disease Control Department said the patient traveled to Bangkok from Africa, where the first case of this fatal Mpox strain was detected. Thai officials said no other local infections have been detected as contact tracing continues. Now, here in the Philippines, the DOH said it's reached out to the World Health Organization about acquiring vaccines against Mpox.
The reality is the international community is focusing on Africa, the continent. So para bang from a broad international perspective, ang priority is to contain the Clade 1 where it is right now in Africa. Nagtaas na tayo ng kamay, nung tinanong sino interesado, nagsabi tayo na interesado tayo.
Over in the U.S., Kamala Harris has formally accepted the Democratic presidential nomination, becoming the first Black and Asian American woman to accept a major U.S. party nomination for president. During her 45-minute speech on the last day of the Democratic convention, she took jabs at her Republican rival Donald Trump and played up her middle-class roots. Political analysts say she styled herself as a center-left moderate, not too far off from the policies of the man she hopes to replace, Joe Biden.
Fellow Americans, this election is not only the most important of our lives, it is one of the most important in the life of our nation. In many ways, Donald Trump is an unserious man. But the consequences of putting Donald Trump back in the White House are extremely serious. We are charting a new way forward to a future with a strong and growing middle class, because we know a strong middle class has always been critical to America's success. And building that middle class will be a defining goal of my presidency.
Well, we're going to be taking a quick break, but up next, we'll be speaking live with Olympic gymnast Jung-Ruivivar, fresh off her meeting with President Marcos. Stay tuned for that. Keep it here.
Welcome back. You're still watching the big story here in One News.
Now, after missing out on the Heroes Welcome for Filipino Olympians, golfer Dottie Ardina and gymnast Alea Finnegan, Emma Malabuyo, and Levi Jung-Ruivivar finally had their own special reception at the Malacanang Palace last night. And we couldn't pass up on a chance to have one of the female athletes here in the studio with us this evening. So let's welcome Olympic gymnast Levi Jung-Ruivivar. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, Levi, how are you? So you came from the U.S., right?
Yes, I did.
Straight to Manila.
Yes, I just got in yesterday morning and then went right to Malacanang Palace. So.
Yeah, it's been a busy schedule for you ever since you got here. But first, let's talk about your Olympic experience.
Yes.
You're 18 years old, but you already made your debut in the Paris Olympics. Talk about the whole journey, the whole experience.
Oh, it was such a whirlwind. Honestly, I've been training in gymnastics since I was 18 months old. So it's
18
been
months.
18 months old.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
My baby's nearly 18 months and I don't know how do I train her? Do I throw her on
just throw her in there.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, my
They're
parents
pretty
had so
malleable.
much energy. It was hanging off of furniture and all that, so they just were just try sport, and it happened to be gymnastics, and I stuck with it. My mom kind of wanted me to be a ballerina, but I chose gymnastics, and I'm happy I did. But yeah, it was just a crazy experience. I mean, I feel like I learned so much. There were a lot of ups and downs through just qualifying to the Olympics in the first place, through the World Cup Series, and then once I got to the Olympics, there were ups and downs as well. The week of my competition, I had an anaphylactic tree nut allergy, which took me out of training for a day, and then my body was recovering leading up to the competition. My muscles were fatigued, so that was a whole experience in itself, and then competing was incredible. I just remember walking out there and seeing the crowd and seeing everyone, and seeing that Filipino flag in the crowd was really inspiring and just made me so happy. And then being in the Olympic Village with other incredible athletes and being around our delegation, it was just amazing.
Well, you're the youngest among all of our delegation. You just met the President of the Philippines. Have you met the President before?
No, I have not.
That's a lot of firsts for you.
It is a lot of firsts. It was such an honor, and I'm just so grateful that him and his office invited me to come meet with him, and I'm just so blessed that I got to talk to him, and I was so nervous. I didn't know what to say, but he was so welcoming, and I really could feel his support for all of the athletes, not just us. And he really took his time to talk to us and tell us about how excited he was that we were supporting the Philippines, and that he was rooting for us the whole time, and that even other Asian countries were rooting for us as well. So it was really
Did he
nice
know
to hear
anything
from him.
about gymnastics?
Did he know anything about gymnastics? I mean, I don't know if he knows technical terms, but he was keeping up with our stories. He was saying, he was talking to the president of Malaysia actually, and his daughter woke him up in the middle of the night, at 2 a.m. to go watch us compete. And so he was saying they were doing watch parties in his office, and they were all cheering really loud. So That was amazing.
You know, Levi, a lot of people stayed up just to watch you girls, the entire Team Philippines in the Paris Olympics. But I think what makes it so special is that you girls made history for us because this is the first time in 60 years that we've sent female gymnasts to the Olympics. So congratulations to you, Aaliyah and Emma. But let's talk about your Filipino lineage. What does it mean for you to represent the Philippines? And talk about your Filipino family as well.
Yeah, it means so much to represent the Philippines. Like, I have to say the Filipino community is probably one of the most supportive communities like I've ever been a part of. And it means a lot to me that everyone has just like gone behind me, and I can feel the love, like no matter where I am, like in the world, I feel like the Filipino community behind me, and I think that gives me a lot of pride and a lot of like honor. My lolo was born and raised in the Philippines before he moved to Hawaii, and had my dad. My dad was born and raised in Hawaii before he moved to Boston for college, where he met my mother, and then yeah, that's where that's
your
where
Filipino roots. What do you love about being Filipino, or what do you think is your favorite part about Filipino culture that you have in you?
There's so many different things, but I mean, obviously the food.
The food?
I love food. And I love that there's always like a lot of like community around just enjoying a meal like with your family. And I think, you know, a lot of people don't really spend as much time with their families in the US as they do in the Philippines, and I think it's really nice that like everyone in the Philippines, like family is very close, and I think that is something specific about like my family as well. So I really enjoy that. And then also, I have to say, like, Filipinos have a lot of, like, grit in them and a lot of fight. And I think that, like, kind of, like, feisty competitive side comes out, like, in my sport. So I guess I would also say that.
I say here are good looks.
Okay.
You're like, you're a star. You're like, you know, I have to say this. You're pretty already competing and all that, but you're prettier in person. Like, you're fun. You want to do...
Reese's girl crushing on you
I'm
right
not,
now.
I'm not going to be surprised if you do. Are there offers already, like, other than sports, like going to show business, entertainment, modeling?
I would love to do that. I mean, I've modeled for some leotard companies in the U.S., but I would love the opportunity to like work with different brands or like do modeling in the Philippines, or even like both my parents are actors and they have like a lot of experience in that department. I did like a little short film and some voiceover work when I was younger. I actually did the voice of Dawn, a character in Doc the Stuffins, who was Filipina. So yeah, that was amazing. But I would love to continue to be able to go down that route.
I wanted to pick up on something that you said before about your gymnastics career, which is that you started at 18 months.
Yes.
But at what point, at what age did you actually start training professionally, and at what point did you say, look, I'm going to go pro?
Yeah, so it was definitely like a long journey to get to the pro level. I would say the age that I started transitioning more to like elite, is what we call it, was actually 7 years old. So at 7 years old, my coach decided to put me in this program called TOPS, which is like the US program that builds you up to elite. And so I was in that program for a lot of years until I was taken into national team camp, which is like the highest level that you can get at in the US, which is like where Simone and Suni and all of them train like once a month. But then I decided I wanted to represent the Philippines, so I took myself out of the US system and transitioned to the Philippines, which was the best decision ever. And yeah.
Did you go to your parents and said, look, I want to go elite, or did you all talk about it together as a family?
I think we like all talked about it as a family because
7 is still a very young age.
Yes,
right?
It was a very young age, and I wasn't actually quite sure what that would entail. Like looking back, I just kind of was, yeah, I'll go for it. Like it's a different path. I want to go down a different path, but I really didn't know what it meant. Like how can you know what that means when you're 7. But, and neither did my parents actually. So they were just kind of supporting me through everything. My entire family has been incredibly supportive. I mean, doing elite gymnastics, it requires a lot of time. It's financially a lot. And then also, like, my family has been split up in different places because of where I need to train. So just like through everything, I've kind of said, like, this is what my goal is, this is what I want to do, and they just backed me through it, which honestly I'm so grateful for because not a lot of people do that, and it was a lot of work on their end.
Absolutely. Takes a village.
Yeah.
Levi, you mentioned you're going to talk to some youth that's also in line with the meeting with the president. Can you tell us more about it?
They like just reached out to me and asked if I could speak for the youth program, and I agreed. And obviously, I'm not sure like what we're gonna talk about yet, but whatever I can do, like to help inspire the next generation of Filipino athletes is like that's my goal. I've said from the beginning when I started competing for the Philippines that I'm really, really hopeful that going forward, I can hopefully inspire or work with the younger Filipino athletes because I do really think there's a lot of potential in Filipino gymnastics specifically because, you know, I think we just like have it naturally in us to be really successful. And I really hope that, you know, it takes a long time to like build up a program, especially like I started at 18 months old, started doing elite at 7. So it takes a long time to get to this level and like to be able to give them like the right information like right from the start, I think would be really helpful to them. And then yeah, just be able to like inspire them and talk to them and get to know them because also like last time I was in the Philippines, I gave them some of my leotards and like talked to them for a little bit and just like to see like the smile on their face and like hear from them was amazing. Like my favorite part of coming to the Philippines.
And that's also the best part, I guess, about athletes wanting to pay it forward. But I couldn't help but notice your Olympic tattoo.
Oh, yeah.
That's very nice. That's like a
branded.
Yeah, that's a trademark of every Olympian, right?
Is that like a thing for Olympians? You
got this in the Olympic Village?
I didn't get in the Olympic Village. I actually was planning on getting it in Paris, but then I just had so much going on. I ended up getting it back when I was in LA. But actually, Aaliyah, Emma, and I were hoping to all get it together, but unfortunately, we like just didn't have the time. So yeah, I think Aaliyah has hers here. I have mine here, and then yeah,
we show it to the camera. We show your tattoo.
Oh yeah,
and
very
Aaliyah,
you can see it.
There.
Actually, have,
if you can get those Olympic rings tattooed in
What?
their
Do you
bodies.
mean I can't just walk into a tattoo parlor and ask for the Olympic rings?
I mean, you can.
No?
But
Oh, okay, but it's gonna make me like a
you're a fraud.
faker, like, just like according to BI Shiela Guo.
Well,
but I coming back to you know, needing a whole support system around gymnastics. And the hard truth is that it doesn't quite, yes, you're right, there's a lot of potential, but it doesn't quite get enough attention here. Obviously, it's overshadowed by the basketball, the boxing, and,
other sports,
now more so volleyball as well. Gymnastics, to be honest, kind of just had a renaissance in this Olympics because of you, because of Emma, because of Alea, because of Carlos. But before that, there were, you know, hardly anyone was talking about it. So now that you, with your perspective of having competed in the Olympics, what do you think needs to be done if, say, we want to bring up, as you said, the next generation of Olympic gymnasts now?
Yes. Yeah. So, like you mentioned, actually, President Marcos was talking to us a little bit about this. He said that like us competing in the Olympics actually brought a lot of awareness to gymnastics in the Philippines, and that there's been an overwhelming number of people in high schools or just elementary schools that have been wanting to sign up for gymnastics programs, and that it's been incredible, and he's so excited about it, and that he's really hopeful that the government can support like more like our sport going forward and give us more access to equipment and coaching and staff and traveling and giving girls a lot more access to that stuff that really helps in the process. I would say the main things that I know from training in the U.S. and going through the U.S. system is like starting a very organized program of getting girls from all over the Philippines together in one place and having like monthly training camps. I think that's incredibly important because you know who your competitors are. You just bring in people from all over the Philippines and you're able to kind of like pick out the more like talented athletes and then also build the right technique and the right form and the right skills that ultimately lead up to the higher performances. And that starts from a very young age, and it is very hard to relearn technique in gymnastics because once you have incorrect technique, it makes it difficult to recorrect later in the future once you kind of build in that muscle memory. So I would definitely say doing like monthly clinics and getting the girls all together and really starting to set that up for the future would be incredibly important. Yeah.
Well, in the next few days, you'll have so many interviews and all that. I know Signal's going to have you back soon.
Yes.
But you're going back to school soon too in the States?
Yes.
Stanford.
Yes.
Wow.
So I'm
And
very
guess what?
excited.
Communications major.
Oh, wow.
So future anchor in the making.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's a dying business.
Oh, no.
Did I just say that on air? Sorry.
Before you go, Levi, what's next for you, and what's your blueprint for Los Angeles 2028?
There's a lot coming up. I mean, there's so many things to do in the next 4 years before LA 2028. I'm going to Stanford in the fall, so just adjusting to college life. I'm starting to do in-person school. I've been homeschooled for the last like 4 years, so or not even 4, it's been like 6 years. So adjusting to that, competing for my college is very exciting. And then in addition to that, being able to train elite so that I can compete in the SEA Games, hopefully, and Asian Championships. Those are the 2 goals as of right now. I'm really hopeful to continue to mature as an athlete and as a person in order to hopefully win some gold medals at those competitions and like bring home some medals to the Philippines. And then going into 2028 LA, I really just want to continue training, building my performance so that hopefully I can be at my best at that competition and make the Philippines proud.
Woohoo!
Well, there you go. We can't wait to watch you in the coming competition, SEA Games. We'd love to.
So many big plans.
Yeah.
It's so exciting.
Yeah.
Very excited.
All you girls
We're
representing
rooting for you, and again, thank you for, making us all proud in Paris.
The Philippines makes me proud, so it's not even...
We're
we're
all in praying that, of course, you remain injury-free and healthy and just enjoy it.
But think of the legions of younger girls that you've inspired just by competing on that stage, right? They look at you and now you can speak to them. They must look at you and think, maybe one day I can do that too, right? So I think that's going to be... No, it's a wonderful thing. So I hope that's what you take away from this experience, apart from all the fun stuff, of course.
Thank you so much. It means a lot.
I wish we had more time, but we'll have to leave it at that. Thank you very much. That's our champion, Pinay Olympic gymnast Levi Jung-Ruivivar. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, that's the show for us tonight.